Hi, and welcome to another episode of Casual Learning. I'm your host, John Bannan. So what's the deal with law firms? I'm an attorney, and I've worked in many law firms, and I have a very good idea of what goes on in law firms. And I'm going to give you the unvarnished truth about law firms. I don't know what maybe has led you on this path to deciding you want to work in a law firm. Maybe it's the money. Maybe those are the only jobs available or that you can get. Maybe you have a contact who works in a law firm. And there's an unbelievable number of law firms out there. So the availability of jobs is always there if you want to work in a law firm. There are other places that lawyers can work. They can work for the government, federal or state governments. They can work in-house for corporations. They can work in all sorts of different fields, maybe teaching, professors. So if you're a lawyer, you don't have to work in a law firm. But maybe that's what you're interested in doing, or you've decided you want to do that, or maybe you just want to find out about what goes on in law firms. I've worked in very large law firms, and I've worked in very small law firms. They're all private sector businesses, and so I have a really good understanding of what goes on in law firms. Now, what a law firm is really a group of attorneys who other attorneys call rainmakers. This means that this particular attorney is very good at obtaining clients or people who are willing to pay for legal services. If you're an attorney and you don't have any clients, you're not going to get paid, and you're not going to stay in that position very long because you need money to survive in this society, unless you're independently wealthy or I don't know, you've postponed your employment somehow. So law firms depend on business that certain attorneys bring into the law firm. Now, these attorneys don't do this for free. They expect to get the lion's share of the money that is made off of any particular client. In fact, that's probably the reason they went out and found that client to begin with. So the first thing you got to know about law firms is it's all about the money. The money. Money. This is the number one priority in law firms. Now, you may have gone to law school and none of your law professors even mentioned this. Not once. They may have mentioned a lot of other things about the law and all the various areas of law that you can study, and perhaps about legal writing and research. And I'm sure there's all sorts of other areas that law schools teach about. But they generally don't teach about this. And this is what motivates law firms. So, a law firm has a particular structure to it. Because lawyers are subject to court rules and maybe even statutes concerning solicitation of business and whether you can have non-lawyers involved in obtaining clients, which generally you can. What you end up with is a system where the lawyers really are responsible for finding their own business. And that's tough because a lawyer is an expert in the law, but because of the way things are set up, they also end up having to be an expert in obtaining clients, which is a completely different realm of expertise altogether. I mean, it has to do with networking and marketing, and it can be very seedy as well. It's really got nothing to do with law school. So, one of the first things you have to understand about law firms is this isn't law school. Not at all. Very, very, very different. Almost unrecognizable for a law student who works in a law firm, Okay, so law firms are all about money. There's a certain number of rainmakers, maybe just one, maybe a dozen or so. Who knows? And these guys or girls are bringing in clients, and they're expecting to make a lot of money off of it. So how do they make money off their clients? Right? Now, they could work on this client's matters all the time and bill this client constantly if the client lets them. And they could make the money themselves personally by billing this client. But there's a much easier way to do it. And that is to farm the work out to other attorneys, like associates or partners, and let those people bill the client. And so the rainmaker gets a cut of all the billing to this client, including the work done by the associates and the partners, their partners. The rainmaker is not doing this out of the kindness of their heart or generosity. No. It's to make money. And really, that's the primary thing. So maybe you have a client who doesn't want the partner to bill too many hours on a particular case because the partner's hourly rate is going to be much higher than, say, an associate. So the partner gives a lot of the work to the associate, and the associate bills at a lower rate, but bills a lot more than the partner would. So the client is, more appeased by the fact that a lower-rated attorney is working on it, so it doesn't cost them as much. But in the meantime, the partner's making a lot of money off of what the associate makes. Now, what is a law firm? A law firm is really a group of rainmakers and oftentimes a shared group of partners and associates that these rainmakers use to bill their clients. So, a law firm's kind of like a pyramid. So up here at the top of the pyramid, you got the rainmakers. And then a little further down, you got partners, mostly non-equity partners who don't actually own an interest in the law firm, mostly because they don't bring in business, or they don't bring in a lot of business. So the people who actually own the law firm, they don't want to share, so they don't make these partners equity partners. They make them regular partners. And then maybe at the bottom you got associates, paralegals. So it's this sort of pyramid structure. So it's not like a typical corporation. It's not. It's not like a direct hierarchy of different managers at different levels down to staff workers, something like that at all. A law firm is really run by its rainmakers, and chances are, if you're working in a law firm, you're working for one particular rainmaker, and your whole fate in that law firm depends on this particular rainmaker. The other rainmakers, the other partners, they don't really care about you because they didn't hire you. They're not using you to make money for them. It's the rainmaker who hired you that's really the one who's going to determine what happens to you in that law firm, if you're an associate, let's say. And frankly, these guys up here, and oftentimes these partners, they're not generous with the information. They often leave associates and paralegals completely in the dark as to what's actually going on in the law firm. That's because they don't think it's your business. They think you're just a cog in their money-making machine. It's none of your business what they're doing. So they don't tell you. They don't tell you a lot of important things. They're not generous in terms of information, and they are rarely interested in furthering your personal career or teaching you how to be a rainmaker or how to make a lot of money. They're very, very stingy, generally speaking. Rainmakers and partners, extremely stingy. They don't care. They're just going, that's your problem. It's not their problem. They're not gonna bother teaching you anything. Now, occasionally you'll find better law firms that actually have programs designed for the associates to learn what these guys already know. But that's rare. Very, very rare. You probably won't run into it. But you might. Okay, so in this kind of structure, you're really working for a particular rainmaker. One guy or girl. And we'll just call this person, this is your boss. You don't actually work for the law firm. Yeah, the law firm, issues the check that pays you. But this is the person you're really working for. This person right here, rainmaker. And you live and die based on what that person thinks of you or does for you. The rest of these guys, they don't care. And that's a very important thing to remember. So, law firms, their main function is to make money, plain and simple. And all these guys up here, they're all looking for huge salaries. And they know that in order to get huge salaries, they got to get these people to work as hard as they possibly can. Because it's these people's work that's providing the money for these people to get their big salaries. They can't make their huge salaries just by themselves. Well, they can make a lot, but they can make, multiples of what they're making, depending on how many associates are also billing the clients that these guys bring in. That's how it's done. And so you got one partner here, and he's brought in a client, and he's got 3 associates that are working on this client's files, right? Maybe these are shared associates. Maybe different partners use the same associates. But this is how this partner makes a lot of money, because these are multiples. You got 3 people working. That's a multiple of 3 for billing that particular client. And this guy gets the lion's share of it. How much should you get as an associate? Well, there's no actual rule on that. How much should an associate get? They may try to make you think there's a rule, but there isn't. There's no rule. It's whatever the market will bear. But you may get these guys telling you some something like, oh, well, you should only get a third of what you bill because we need I take a third and then a third is for overhead. That's total nonsense. It's nonsense. He's just trying to basically come up with an excuse why he's taking 2/3 of the billing and you're only getting a third of it. Right? The truth is, he wants to get you at a salary that's as cheap as possible, and then work you as hard as possible, because that's the way he maximizes his income. That's it. That's all it is. These guys are not your friends. They're not your friends. They're in it for themselves. You're just a cog in their money-making machine. That's what you are. You're a cog in their money-making machine. It's all about them. It is not about you. Don't kid yourself. Maybe you work there anyway because you need the money. Okay, that's a good reason to. You need a job, so you work for this guy because you need the money. But don't kid yourself. This guy is not your friend, and chances are he's not going to teach you anything about making money. And he doesn't have your interest at heart. He's not looking out for you. He's not looking out for your career. Don't even, harbor those sorts of thoughts, because, unless this is your uncle, and maybe not even that case, he doesn't care, or she or she. They don't care about you. Don't kid yourself. So what do law firms generally do? Well, they bring you in, try to pay you, get away with paying you as little as they can. They can get away with paying you, and then work you to death. Work you as hard as they possibly can, and make you bill as many hours as you possibly can, so that these guys can make the most money they possibly can. It's that simple. They won't tell you any of what I just told you because they don't want you knowing that. There's a lot of things they don't want you knowing. But I'm telling you, that's how it is. What's it like working for attorneys? Well, attorneys, first and foremost, are people who have graduated from law school and have passed a bar exam. So most of them are pretty smart people. I've met a lot of dumb attorneys. I've even worked for a lot of dumb attorneys. You'd be amazed how dumb some attorneys can be. But generally speaking, they're pretty smart. They're above average in intelligence. But the only thing they know is really the law. How to be an attorney, how to do legal processes. And some of them know how to bring in clients. And that's it. And they know they want to make a lot of money, too. They don't know how to manage people. They think they do because, if you own a business or you're involved in the ownership of a business, you have to manage people unless you actually hire managers. And most law firms don't hire managers. So it's up to the attorneys to manage the employees. And they don't know what they're doing. They're not good managers. They haven't studied it. They don't know what they're doing, but they got to manage nonetheless. And so what you get is, you get them acting like attorneys towards you, thinking that this is how you manage people. They don't know any better, nor do they care to learn, because they're making a lot of money, it seems to be working for them. So why should they bother learning anything else? So what are attorneys generally like? Well, this is what you're going to find in law firms. What are attorneys generally like? Well, attorneys are argumentative. They're confrontational. A lot of them went to law school because they wanted to make money after law school. That's the only reason they went. So a lot of them are greedy. To go through law school and also pass a bar exam, you got to be somewhat intelligent. So generally above average intelligence. They're also very arrogant. Attorneys are all very arrogant because, they don't want to admit that they don't know something. Even though they don't know it, they don't want to admit that they don't know it. They want clients to have real confidence in being able to accept their advice. So they don't admit to being wrong. So it makes them very arrogant usually. A lot of these attorneys, especially the ones that can bring in rainmakers, they have certain skills, networking skills, schmoozing skills, and frankly, they can be sort of like used car salesmen. They say a lot of things which it's just not true. So, they make stuff up a lot, or play games, or manipulate like a used car salesman might, to try to get you to hire them and use them as your attorney. So there's a lot of that manipulative trick playing that some of these guys do, or girls. So they're manipulators. Some of them, the real salesman types, they don't like to say no. It's always yes, but the truth is it's going to end up being no. They're just not going to tell you that. So they'll manipulate the situation so it ends up being what they really want, even though they won't be honest with you or their client. So they're not very honest. They're mostly dishonest. Not like criminals, but you got to take whatever they say with a grain of salt. Take whatever they say with a grain of salt. Well, some of these guys or girls are trial attorneys, certified trial attorneys. These people can be very cocky and very self-assured and very manipulative because these attorneys are practiced at manipulation in terms of trying to win a trial or convince a jury that their side is correct. So they can be very tricky. A lot of these attorneys, very tricky people. Now, if you notice, I haven't said anything nice, have I? You sure you still want to work in a law firm? That's the way law firms are, plain and simple. So, let's say you're going into a law firm and you're an associate, and you're working for one of these rainmakers, or maybe a partner, non-equity partner maybe, you're going to run into all this. You're going to run into all this. And this is not a great environment to be in. But maybe you have no choice and you want to be in that environment. Or maybe this is your opportunity to learn how to be like this. So you can make a lot of money too. And now, I don't suggest that, but some people just think that it's all about the money, and it doesn't matter how you treat people or how good a person you might be. There's a lot of people who don't subscribe to, Christian ethics, for instance. The idea that you should be nice to people and loving to people and caring to people. A lot of people don't believe in any of that, and a lot of people just want the money and the status that attorneys get, the influence. That's all they care about. So this sort of behavior isn't at all shocking to them. In fact, it'd probably be shocking if you didn't see this. So, if you're a really good, kind sort of person, I don't suggest working in a law firm because you're going to run into a lot of bad behavior. But if this stuff doesn't shock you, well, at least you know that this is what goes on. This is what you can expect. So let's say you decided to work as an associate in the law firm, and you're working for Mr. Rainmaker. And Mr. Rainmaker is going to have some area of law that he practices, or that he brings clients in to pay him. And that's what you're going to have to do when you're there. You're going to have to learn whatever it is that Mr. Rainmaker does in order to assist him in making more money for Mr. Rainmaker. So, what is this Rainmaker likely to do with you? Well, law firms can be divided, roughly speaking, into civil law firms and criminal defense law firms, and sometimes there's law firms that handle everything, and there's other areas of law too that people can make money at, that law firms would be an expert in or specialize in. And the bigger law firms usually have just about every aspect of law that you can make money at somewhere in their law firm, because they want to act as like a one-stop shop for clients, because they don't want to give the clients up to somebody else. So if the client's like, well, I know you guys do criminal defense, but can you take care of my, slip and fall? And they want, oh yeah, we can take care of that, because they don't want to lose a client, or they don't want to lose the money that they could make from that client's case. And if they don't have that sort of law in their law firm, they usually will refer it out to some other attorney that does that sort of law, that they have a special relationship with. Maybe it's usually you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours sort of relationship with this other attorney. They'll refer cases or work to this other attorney, and in return, this other attorney will refer legal matters that attorney doesn't handle to this law firm. You see a lot of that. A lot of back scratching goes on in law firms between attorneys. So, you're working as an associate. What's likely to happen? Well, you're probably going to get a bunch of assignments from Mr. Rainmaker attorney, or maybe some partners who are underneath Mr. Rainmaker attorney, or maybe the Rainmakers share you as an associate. You'll get a bunch of assignments from a bunch of different attorneys, and it's your job to do whatever it is they say. And You don't get a choice in this. As an associate, you don't have the choice to say, no, I don't really want to do that. That's a no-no. You say something like that, they'll fire you. And, law firms, I've seen a lot of law firms that are really just revolving doors of attorneys coming in and going out, attorneys getting fired, attorneys getting hired, others getting fired. Revolving door. There's a lot of law firms like that, and that's the reality. These rainmaker types, they don't care about associates. They'll get rid of them. If the associate's costing them too much money, or they think they can find somebody else who'll do the same thing cheaper, or maybe this associate's demands are getting too high. They've been there a while and they want to be partner, and the partners the rainmaker's like, well, why don't I make him partner and share the wealth with him? I'll just get rid of him, fire him, and we'll just hire somebody new, pay him a lot less, and I'll make more money. Law firms are very cold places in terms of human compassion. I don't think they have any compassion, but they'll tell you they do, but they really don't. Don't kid yourself if you're working at a law firm. It's about the money and how it is that you're helping this rainmaker or these partners make money. And maybe you're too expensive, and out the door you go. That's the nature of law firms. So let's say you get a bunch of assignments from a bunch of partners or these rainmaker types, and now you got to work on them, and you got to get them done, and there's always a pressure for the associate to do more, do it quickly, because it's in it's beneficial to the rainmakers and the partners in terms of money. The more they can get you to work, the harder they can get you to work, the more efficiently they can get you to work, the more money they're going to make. So they pressure you to work. And this is why law firms can be very stressful environments to work in, because there's this constant pressure to work 24/7, and it's money motivated. Don't let them, convince you otherwise. That's what it is. They want to make more money off of you. So the more they can make you work, the more money they make. It's that simple. Now, the longer you've been there, you'll get more experience and you'll be better at whatever it is they ask you to do. So maybe you become slightly more efficient, or you're better at this work, and that'll work to your advantage somewhat. But don't kid yourself. In the end, if somebody thinks that they can make more money with somebody else, you're out the door. They don't care. So there's a lot of pressure in law firms to work. And usually it's the lower down you are, the more work you have to do. I've known lots of partners and rainmakers who sat at their desks all day and did nothing. But because they're the ones bringing in the clients, no one's going to tell them, hey, why are you sitting there doing nothing? Shouldn't you be working? No one's going to say that to them, so that's what they do. They sit there, don't do anything. Maybe they call a bunch of people up, talk to their clients. Maybe they're trying to bring in new clients. I don't know. But when you're in that sort of position where the lifeblood of the law firm is the money brought in by the clients, and you're the person who is responsible for bringing that client in, and more importantly, if you leave the law firm, that client goes with you. You have a lot of leverage, and those sorts of people they don't really work that hard in terms of actually doing legal work. They just sit back and relax for the most part. They'll never admit that they're not working nearly as hard as you are, but that's the truth. And in law firms, there's billable hour requirements. So they may say to an associate, "Oh, you got to bill, 2,000 hours a year, or more than that." And the truth is that those figures are often outrageously high and really impossible to accomplish. But the pressure from the higher ups is we want to make as much money as possible, so we're going to push you as hard as we can, including these ridiculously high billable hour requirements. And that's part of where the pressure is, where the pressure begins. Can you make those billable hour requirements or not? Probably not. And it may be that the partners and rainmakers know that you can't make those billable hour requirements. But they're not going to tell you that because they want to keep the pressure on you, keep pressuring you to work harder. So, is your job in jeopardy if you don't hit the billable hour requirement? Maybe not. Maybe they know darn well you're not going to be able to hit them. Or maybe they're going to cut a lot of your hours because their clients are only going to want to pay a certain amount of money, and they're not going to want to pay for the full amount it actually takes in terms of billable hours. And they know this, but they're not going to tell you. Law firms keep associates in the dark. It's like growing mushrooms. Keep them in the dark and feed them a lot of manure. That's what it's like being an associate in a law firm. Billable hours, pressure. They love to spring things on you in the last minute. Like, oh, you're about to. It's Friday afternoon at 3:30, and you're looking forward to your weekend trip somewhere with your wife or whatever. Oh, wait a minute. A partner comes in. Hey, I got this assignment. It needs to be done by Monday. Here, do this. Really? Yeah, really. And they expect you to do it. And if you don't do it, you could be out the door. So what do they expect you to do? Oh, well, you got to do it on your own time. You got to stay here late at night. Maybe you have to come in on Saturday, maybe even on Sunday, in order to fix this, in order to do this for this partner. That stuff happens all the time. And these partners do this because they're pressuring you, and they know they're pressuring you, and they know they can get away with it. And, if you don't do the work, they're going to have to do it. So, hey, they want to do something this weekend. Better that you do it than them. And that's what they do. So, part of the pressure is also making your work late at night or coming on the weekends. And when you get to that, when you realize that maybe you're not getting paid enough to put up with this. When you first start for that law firm, they're going to make you think it's a 9-to-5 job and you don't work on the weekends. No, that's not true at all. They're just trying to get you as cheap as possible. Because if you knew the truth, you'd demand a heck of a lot more money from them in terms of salary. So when you go into a law firm, if you want to get a job, think to yourself, hey, this is really 24/7 sort of job, and I'm going to be working late hours, and I'll be working on the weekend, and what is that worth? How much should I be getting for that? Unless you have some other reason to be at the law firm, you want to gain the experience perhaps so you can further your own career and make a lot of money. If that's really not your interest, then you really ought to get paid fairly for what you're going to do. And I'm telling you how they push attorneys. That's the truth. At the beginning they make you think it's just a 9-to-5 job, but it never turns out that way. They always try to pressure you into working on the weekends, working long hours. If they could get you to go out and wash their car, they do it. And I'm not kidding. So be careful about that, what you're getting into. And make sure you get paid accordingly. And there's a certain extent to which how much they pay you is going to be based on, what the market bears. But have a good idea of what the market bears, and don't sell yourself short. Plus, you have to work with very stressful people. These people they're not your friends, and they're not really nice people. And that's stressful in itself, having to have to deal with those sorts of people. You know, you can really raise your blood pressure a lot working in a law firm. So I hope you're getting paid for that. Law firms are not family friendly. They may claim to be, but they're not. So, what are your priorities in life, right? If your priority is, I just want to make as much money as I possibly can, and I don't care who I step on in order to do that. Well, a law firm may be a great place for you. Really, it could be a great place for you. You're going to find a lot of company there. If you have other priorities, let's say your top priority is not just make as much money as you possibly can. Let's say it's family. You want to get married, have some kids, have a balanced lifestyle, right? Balanced lifestyle. You want to do things in life besides just working in a law firm. Chances are a law firm is not the place to be. I never met many balanced lawyers working at law firms. They all seem to be unbalanced. Their priorities are generally not my sort of priorities. They're very, very unbalanced. They're very focused on, the work that they do in the law firm and the money they make, and that's it. To these people, that's all life is. They're supposed to be smart, but they really miss the boat when it comes to priorities and what life is all about. I can't tell you how many old attorneys I've seen working for decades and decades doing the law, and at some point they retire, because the other partners don't want them there anymore because they're not bringing in the business they used to, and they don't want to pay them, so they kick them out, and they retire. And then a couple of years later, they're dead. They're just dead because they can't. They've never learned to do anything else in life. They don't have any other enjoyments. They've been so focused on just the law, being an attorney, working as an attorney. That's all. That's what life is to them. And God forbid these people have kids or spouses, because they say law is a jealous mistress, and that is certainly true in law firms. And the kids and the wife get the short end of the stick for a lot of these attorneys. The attorneys just don't spend a lot of time with their families because they're at the office working or dealing with clients. They're very unbalanced, but that's all they know. And they continue to do the same thing over and over, year after year, decade after decade, because that's all they know. That's what makes, that's where they get their ego high, their kicks, and that's all they know. And then when they leave a couple of years after they retire, they just can't take it because they don't know what to do, and then they drop dead. I've seen this a lot. It's sad, very sad, that there's so many unbalanced attorneys who are like that. But it's true, absolutely true. And when you go into that law firm and get into that sort of environment, you're going to be taught to be just like them. And you really got to wonder, do I want to be like them? Hopefully you don't. But you get into that sort of environment and you start to behave like that, and it can suck you in, and you can start losing balance in life, which is really important. I mean, you only have one life to live, and the most valuable thing is your time. It's not money. It's your time. How much time do you have, and what are you spending it on? Are you spending all your time working in a law firm? Well, if you can be balanced and get away with working in a law firm, then maybe. But generally speaking, I don't think that's going to happen. Maybe you only plan to work in a law firm a few years, and then do something else, or go work in a different law firm, or make some money from this one law firm, go work some other law firm later on. You can. There's ways to balance your life as an attorney, but don't think working at the same law firm to become some great rainmaker is a balanced lifestyle, because it is not. It could make you very wealthy, maybe, but it's not a balanced lifestyle. No, no chance. Um, and another thing, you started working for a law firm. Don't for a second think that you're going to be there for 25 years and they're going to give you a gold watch, because there's almost no chance of that happening. None. Chances are, in 5 years they're going to kick you out, unless you have some sort of leverage. You're really good with the clients, or you have your own clients maybe, and they have some reason to think that, oh, they can make money using you. Um, but otherwise, don't delude yourself about those things. And lawyers are, I found, very, very stingy, and Scrooge-like. So when it comes to things like, retirement plans, 401ks, when it comes to health insurance benefits, it always seemed to me like every year they were trying to give you less and less and less. So they may be like, oh, we have a 401k we give employees, but we're only going to contribute 3% of your income to it. Something like, when they could contribute like 12%. Oh, we're going to give you 3%. And somehow they make you think that, oh, that's good. Well, it's not. Or every year the health insurance premiums keep going up because the cost of healthcare keeps escalating. But the law firms are like, well, we don't want to pay as much anymore, so we're switching your plan to some lower plan that's cheaper for them. Or we're going to make you pay more out of pocket for this same plan, or maybe even a cheaper plan, and they're going to make you pay more out of pocket. But they're always, these rainmaker lawyers, they're always squeezing their employees and their associates so they can squeeze every penny out of you. Because what you have to remember is it's their money-making machine, and they don't really care about you. So the more they can squeeze you and make more money for themselves, they're going to do that. In fact, some of them feel as if they're obliged to do that. Really. They really do, because they think they're not being smart if they're not squeezing the life out of everybody so that they can make as much money for themselves as they possibly can. This is a very screwed up way of thinking, and it's certainly not Christian. It's not moral. But nonetheless, that's the truth. What can I say? If you don't have to work in a law firm, don't. You're better off not. But if you want to go, I'm just giving you the idea. I'm just trying to tell you what happens. A lot of these lawyers, they have no experience with management. They don't know how to manage people, but they think they do, because lawyers think they know everything. You'll find that out. What do? Some of them, because they want to squeeze every penny out of you, they manage by intimidation. That's not a good way to manage, but they do that nonetheless. I have a bachelor's degree in business management from the #1 business school, undergraduate school in the United States. And I took many classes on management, and I've never taken a class on management by intimidation. But that's the only management that seems to apply to some of these law firms. Management by intimidation. Well, what is that? That's basically, we're going to intimidate you to make you work harder. We're going to put you in fear of your job, put you in fear of being fired. We're going to micromanage you and watch everything you do and criticize everything we think you did wrong, and put you basically in a constant state of fear, because they want to make you work harder and make you more responsive to their demands. So they put you on edge or on eggshells constantly. They do this on purpose. This is their management philosophy, because they think if you're on eggshells, you're fearful, then they're going to get more. They're going to be able to squeeze more out of you than if you're relaxed and not that concerned. And it's true. Management by intimidation can have that effect. It surely can. It can get people to be more responsive, work harder, absolutely. But there's a price to pay for that, and it's the worker's mental well-being. Being in a constant state of intimidation and fear is not good for you mentally. It's not good for your mental health. It's good for the rainmaker or the partner who's doing it to you because they're squeezing more out of you, right? So they don't care about your mental health. You're just some associate, and they're going to get rid of you sooner or later anyway. So they don't care, but so they'll do it, and that's even more pressure. If you're working under somebody who manages by intimidation, you're going to be under a lot of pressure, and this makes law firms very bad environments, generally speaking, for associates or for workers. Very bad environments. Good for money making for the people up at the top, but bad environments for everybody else. Law firms have a lot of problems with burnout and stress and unbalanced workers and mental health problems, and it's all caused because of the top people in the firm purposely squeezing people and driving, basically intimidating them and trying to squeeze everything they can out of them and taking advantage of them every way they can so that they can make more money. And they don't care because it's money in their pocket. So they don't care what happens to you. You're just part of their money-making machine. That's very important to remember if you work in a law firm. You're part of somebody else's money-making machine. You're a cog in somebody else's money-making machine. And some people don't treat their cogs very nice. Some people just burn them out. Oh, it's burned out. Go get a new cog. I'll replace this old cog with a new cog. So my machine continues to work great. That's how they view it. They'll deny it that's how they view it, but that's how they view it. I've been in enough law firms. I know how they think. And that's how they think. Don't think they're looking out for you. They're not. No. All right. So some law firms will give you secretaries, access to secretaries. That can make your life easier because somebody else is typing everything up that you got to do. But it seemed to me nowadays, a lot of places, you don't get secretaries, you don't get that luxury. And you end up having to have to type everything up. Hopefully you get a secretary, but maybe you don't. Or if it's a shared secretary, you got to share it with somebody else or some other partner. You can bet that secretary is going to do that partner stuff before they do yours. And sometimes these firms hire secretaries from like temp agencies, or they hire the cheapest secretaries they could possibly find, and it ends up being that these secretaries, aren't that good, and they don't care about being good, and so you get back a lot of work that's full of mistakes and spelling errors, and maybe they don't get back to you for 2 weeks, and you're wondering where this even is. And the higher ups are like, well, we want to spend a lot of money on secretaries. We'll hire cheaper secretaries, and you get what you pay for, and you end up with lousier secretaries. But maybe you don't even get a secretary. Maybe you got to type it up all yourself, and that's what you're going to have to do. Some of these law firms the client is an insurance carrier, and a lot of these insurance carriers have billing guidelines, and they're constantly criticizing and cutting down the bills of the law firms, and they say you can't bill for this or you can't bill for that, and it becomes really tough trying to figure out how to deal with these insurance companies and their billing guidelines. Because their billing guidelines are usually ridiculous. They say you can't bill for something which obviously you have to do in order to put out a good product, but they don't want to pay for it. Why? Because they don't want to pay it. They're just trying to knock down the attorneys or the law firm's bills. It's this game that they're playing with the law firms. I'm going to knock your bills down so I don't have to pay as much. And the law firms are figuring out ways to bill more so that it offsets what the insurance companies are doing, cutting it down. It can be crazy. But nonetheless, you gotta deal with the insurance company's guidelines, regardless of how silly some of them might be. And that's you have no choice. You have to deal with that. And insurance companies often have billable guidelines, like you can't spend a certain amount of time beyond a certain tenth of a minute on a certain function. And if you go beyond that, then they're going to cut it down, and your boss is going to be upset because he's not making as much money, and your time is lost essentially. Knowing how much you can bill for any particular item for any particular insurance company is a big part of being an insurance defense attorney, really. Because, if the insurance carrier is somebody who's like, we don't pay for legal research. Well, you're not going to be able to bill for legal research. Now, I know there's a lot of insurance companies like that. And, you're left scratching your head. It's like, what do you mean you can't bill for legal research? Do you think I know all the law there is to know on this particular subject? It's impossible. But that's the game the insurance company plays. And the idea is, well, you're an attorney, you should know what the law is. Why should you research anything? Well, that's silly. Any attorney knows that you have to research the law, and the law changes constantly. And you can't possibly memorize everything in the law that's, relevant to this particular client's case. You have to do legal research. You have to. In fact, it would be malpractice not to. But the insurance company doesn't want to pay for it. And you're stuck with that sort of attitude. And what are you going to do? The insurance company's not going to pay for legal research. They're just not. That's a bad client, but this may be the client you've got to deal with in these law firms. You don't have much choice over what client you have to deal with or not. It's the rainmaker's client. You're stuck with it, and whatever rules this client has. Bill hours can be a tough thing, and not to mention the fact that your entire day as an attorney, not only you're doing legal work, you're also recording what it is you're doing while you're doing it. How much time did I just spend doing that? How much time did I spend just doing that? That could drive you nuts because he's constantly interfering with what you're doing, what kind of legal procedure you might be doing, or writing, or what sort of writing you might be doing for a particular client. You're constantly have to keep records of how much time you're spending on every little discrete piece of work. So that's tough to get used to. And plaintiffs' firms will do that too. They have to keep track of hours, just like if you're billing an insurance company for various reasons. Maybe they're going to make an application to the court later on, and they have to show how much time they spent on a particular case. They're making an application for attorney's fees. Or maybe the plaintiff's law firm simply wants you to keep billable hours because they want to pressure you into working harder, just like the insurance defense law firms do. Same thing. It's their way of pressuring you into working harder. there's a big difference between plaintiffs and defense work. Plaintiffs work, you're basically, your client is usually a person, an individual, maybe somebody who was injured, a very unsophisticated person often. Whereas defense work, you're usually working for corporations or insurance companies, places that are much more sophisticated, and there's a big difference in terms of how the attorneys get paid. If, for instance, you're on the plaintiff's side and you're pursuing personal injury, the plaintiff's law firm may not get paid for years until the lawsuit's over or there's been a settlement. So in the meantime, you may be billing a lot, but the law firm isn't actually getting any money because they're not going to get it until the case is settled. Whereas on the defense side, the attorneys are getting usually a monthly check from the corporation or the insurance carrier, paying their bills. So there's a steady stream of cash coming into the law firm. And that's a big benefit to defense work. There's cash flow. There's a constant cash flow coming in from these insurance companies or these corporations. And that can really keep a law firm afloat. It can be really nice. Whereas with plaintiff's work, it's a lot of delayed gratification, and you're not exactly sure how much you're going to get paid at the end. Maybe the case gets tried and you hit a big verdict, and firm makes millions of dollars, or maybe you lose. Maybe it gets no caused. The insurance defense attorneys won. You got Zippo. The law firm lost a ton of money in terms of your time. And everybody who worked on it, their time, and then the expenses, the expert expenses, and an unbelievable amount of money. And they lost a lot of money. So, in terms of stability, working for a law firm that does insurance work or work for corporations is usually more stable and slightly more relaxed than plaintiffs' law firms. Because there is that constant flow of cash, which sort of has kind of a calming effect on the rainmakers and the partners, because they know the money's going to come in regardless. So they're a little bit more calm about the whole thing. Whereas the plaintiff's law firm, you got the plaintiff's attorneys, the trial attorneys who are risking everything on the trial and the outcome of that. Those guys could go bananas, nuts from the insecurity of knowing whether they're going to hit it big or not. So some can be, defense is a little more sane than plaintiff's work, but law firms, regardless of which it is, defense or plaintiff's work, they're very stressful environments to work in, regardless. Law firms love to tell you that you can have as much vacation as you need. Doesn't that sound great? Well, I need 6 months of vacation. How about that? No. That's not what they meant. What they really mean by that is, we're not going to tell you how much vacation you can take, because if we tell you, we know you're going to take it. So if we say to you, you get 4 weeks of vacation, you know that you're going to take those 4 weeks, because if you don't use them, you lose them, right? So they play this game. They don't tell you. They won't tell you how much vacation you get. They'll just say just what you need, because they figure if they tell you 4 weeks, you're going to take 4 weeks. If they tell you as much as you need, they figure you're going to take 2 weeks, because they're going to pressure you into working a lot. And that's all you'll take, if that. Some of them, they can intimidate people and take no vacation at all. It's just more pressure and more tactics to try to squeeze more out of those associates. This is the games the rainmakers and the partners play to the lower cogs of the law firm. Don't fall for it. A lot of associates have dreams of being partner. A lot of those dreams are really shattered. You can work really hard for 5 years and then say, oh, they're going to make me partner. There's a good chance they're not, and you're out the door and you get replaced. The only, in terms of security, right? Job security, there really is none in law firms unless you are a rainmaker and you have clients who can make a lot of money for the law firm. That's the only security there is in a law firm. If you have leverage over how much money is being made by the law firm, that's your only security. There's really no other way to obtain security in a law firm. That's it. And if you're capable of bringing in those sorts of clients, and you kind of got to wonder, well, what do I need this law firm for anyway? Can I do this myself? Well, maybe not. Maybe you need that bigger organization to assist your clients in other matters so you don't lose the client. Maybe your clients bring in some money but not a whole lot, or maybe half of what you want to get paid, so you do some other work for this law firm, essentially while you're doing work for your own client to increase your salary. The clients that you have, it's called your book of business. And the bigger your book of business and the more valuable it is, that is, the more money that can be made off of those clients, the more leverage you have as an attorney. But without that kind of book of business, you don't have any leverage as an attorney working in a law firm. You just don't. You're just a cog in somebody's money-making machine, and that's it. That's what you are. There's not a whole lot of leverage in that. Now, let's say you're a really smart attorney, and you graduated at the top of your class, your law school class, or maybe your own law review. So you have some leverage because you're a really smart attorney, and because of that, you can get good outcomes on cases, or handle certain sophisticated cases that other attorneys couldn't because they're just not smart enough. That's some leverage, but it's not an awful lot. And the reason is because the higher ups, the rainmakers, they know they can hire other smart attorneys. And while they might prefer you, they can replace you. And lots of times, they don't even recognize that one certain attorney who's really good at something can have one outcome which is really good for them, whereas another attorney, not so smart, is not going to have that good outcome, and it's going to be worse for them. And they're just, the rainmakers or partners, whoever, they're just not smart enough. They're just not smart enough to understand that, because they're not that smart. The particular person is not that smart to begin with. It doesn't take a whole lot of intelligence to network and market and have clients who will pay a lot. It doesn't take a lot of intelligence to get that sort of client. So, a lot of these rainmakers, in terms of how well they did in law school, but they've got their grip on the money coming to the law firm, and that's all the leverage they need. There are attorneys who, when they're the partner or they're the rainmaker, they consider all the other attorneys worker bees. What's your job? Your job is simply to, make honey for me, and that's it. You're a worker bee. And you got to understand that, as an associate, you're a low man on the totem pole, and they're going to take advantage of you and push you as much as they possibly can. And if you fight back, you're going to find yourself out the door. So, the question you got to ask yourself is: do you really want to work for a law firm? Because that's the way they are. If you want a balanced lifestyle, I suggest there's probably better options for you out there. But who knows? Maybe you you want to go in there for some other reason, or maybe it's, I don't know, you're gonna only stay there a few years anyway. I mean, I don't know, but it's good to know what they're like before you go in there, and that's what they're like. And a lot of your law firm experience is going to depend on the boss, who it is, who's the rainmaker that you're working for. The better the human being that is, the better your experience at the law firm is going to be. And you know, these law firms, they're always hiring people. They're always putting help wanted ads in the legal papers. And there's a reason for that. It's because they're firing a lot of people. Don't kid yourself. There's all these places revolving doors, man. So you might get the job that, Mr. Joe Smith just lost last week. And maybe it's because Joe Smith's boss was a horrible person. Not a nice person at all. And that may be your boss now. So now you got to deal with this person. The the lower your expectations are in terms of your career at a law firm, the better off you're going to be, probably. Unless, of course, you're one of these people whose priorities are different and you don't care about balanced lifestyle or, your wife and kids or, I don't know what else you're going to do in like travel or, other things you could do in life besides the law. Well, you're one of those people, so maybe you love it. Maybe that's the sort of environment where you thrive. That's possible, sure. Certainly, there's a lot of attorneys just like that inhabit these law firms, these very law firms that I'm talking about. That's the truth about law firms. Don't kid yourself about them, and be prepared for them. And if that's the kind of lifestyle that you want to entertain, at least temporarily, then then at least you know what you're getting into. Ultimately, maybe you want to learn how to get clients or learn this particular aspect of the law, and maybe your plan is ultimately, okay, I'm going to get my own clients and I'm going to get a lot of leverage in this law firm so I don't have to be a lowly associate who gets beat up on. Or maybe you're like, oh, I'm going to learn this stuff and then I'm going to leave. I'm going to open up my own practice. That happens a lot. Or whole lawyer groups leave one law firm and they go to another law firm because the rainmaker who's making money here thinks, oh, this other law firm is interested in my practice group. Oh, I can make more money over there. So I'm just going to take myself and the associates that I have and I'm going to go to that law firm because I'm going to make more money there. That happens all the time too. There's such thing as lateral hires. One law firm taking lawyers from a different law firm. They're not all just, you come in as an associate and rise. Maybe to the level of partner or equity partner, right? Or you learn to practice. You're going to open up your own business, right? You're going to work for yourself. Being a lawyer is a professional. You can work for yourself. Self-employment is entirely possible, but you need clients to be able to do that, and some expertise. So maybe that's your plan. You work in a law firm, get the expertise, and then you open up your own practice, and you're engaged in self-employment. Now, I would suggest to you that if your goal in life is to make bucket loads of money, I mean, insane amounts of money, then you probably don't want to be a lawyer anyway. You probably want to own some sort of business. Maybe you want to own a bunch of franchises. Because a lawyer in the end is trying to make money off their own labor, or maybe the labor of some associates. So there's a limited amount that you can make from that. It could be plenty for you, sure, but it's not the only way to make money. And maybe some other way of making money might be a lot more balanced for you, and that you don't have to live in such a stressful law firm environment. You know, uh, and you know, even as a self-employed attorney, you still have to work, so you're tied to your desk, you're chained to your desk. All those rainmakers and equity partners in law firms, they're all chained to their desk. They all have that in common. They can't leave, because if they leave, the whole thing falls apart and they don't make any more money. So they can't leave. Whereas in some businesses, say you own some franchises, for instance, and you have somebody else managing it, you can leave and still make money. Maybe you rent properties out. You know, you're a landlord. You're not chained to any desk, but you still make money. So there are other business opportunities for you to make money, not just being a lawyer working in a law firm, or a self-employed professional lawyer with your own law firm. So, you know, you should be open to other ideas, depending on what your goals are in life. If you want to live a balanced lifestyle, your family and friends and your kids are important to you. You want to see them. You want to go on vacations. I mean, maybe you want to do other things like. The law firm is probably not a great place to get a job. There's always exceptions. Maybe smaller law firms might be more flexible in terms of how much commitment they require you. You know, how many hours do you want from me? You know, that's a big problem with law firms. It's the number of hours you got to put in. Let's say you go to a law firm and they tell you, oh, we're going to pay you, $100,000 a year, right? And you think, wow, $100,000 a year? That's great! I'll take the job right now. Bam, sign me up. But what they didn't tell you, not only about how stressful it is to work at that law firm and the kind of people you've got to deal with, but you're thinking, okay, 9 to 5 job, that's 40 hours a week, right? Oh, 40 hours a week. I work 40 hours a week and I get $100,000 a year. No! What they're not telling you is they don't expect you to work 40 hours a week. They expect you to work 70 hours a week. That's what they're not telling you. So when you get the hourly rate, how much of you really work? How much do you make per hour? Figure that out as an attorney. And 40 hours at $100,000, you're making a whole lot more per hour than if you have to work 70 hours a week. You're almost getting paid half of what you thought you were getting paid per hour. And then you might look at that hourly rate and say, wait a minute, I could be a plumber and make more money than this. Who are these guys kidding? And they got you, see, because you agreed to that, but you didn't know about this. This is real important, and they won't tell you how many hours you have to work. They may tell you what a billable hour requirement is, but trust me, this is what they want you to work, not this. So when they tell you about this salary, you got to think of this in terms of this amount of time that you're going to put in, and figure out what your hourly rate is, and see if is it really that good in light of all the hours you put in. And the other thing you got to remember is 70 hours a week. That's an enormous amount of time. I mean, how much is that a day? Right? You work. That's like 10 hours. 10 hours a day if you work every day of the week. Yeah, and plus you got to commute. You got to put in the commute time to get to the law firm. So you're working 10 hours a day. Takes you 2 hours to commute there and back. 12 hours a day. And that's assuming you work on Saturday and Sunday. What do you take Sunday off? You're going to end up working 12 hours here. You're going to be 14 hours a day. That's incredibly stressful. That's a very, very tough job. And then you got to figure out, I'm working these hours, and how much am I getting paid? And 14 hours a day, that can destroy your marriage and your family life. Because your wife and kids never see you. They don't even know who you are. You get home, your kids are already asleep. You wake up, you leave, they don't see you. They don't even see you on the weekend sometimes. I know there's there's this idea of quality time with your kids, but trust me, spending a little bit of quality of time with your kids, maybe an hour a week or something, that does not make up for parenting. If you're putting in 14 hours a day, you shouldn't have kids. Frankly, you shouldn't even get married, because there's no way you can live a balanced lifestyle and pay proper attention to your wife and children if you're working these kind of hours. And this is typical in law firms. So you need to understand that going in, what it's like in these law firms. They are tough places to work. And there may be better ways to make the same amount of money with not putting in nearly that sort of amount of time. So before you go take a law firm job, figure it out. Figure out how much you're making per hour. And is it worth it for the number of hours they want? And they're not going to be honest with you about the number of hours they want. They're just not. Because they know if they say to you, oh, you're going to put in 70 hours a week, they know you're going to run for the hills. Or you're going to ask for more money. So they won't tell you. But you'll find out soon enough in a few months or maybe 6 months down the road. They start trying to get you to come in on Saturday and Sunday and work these sorts of hours. You'll see. And then you realize, they scammed me when I first started working there. They didn't tell me this. They should have told me this. They should have. But they won't, because they know you're going to ask for more money. They won't tell you. That's law firms for you. All right. Well, I have a lot I can say about law firms. I've worked in a lot of them. I know what goes on in there, and this is just a taste. What I told you on this video is just a taste of what law firm life is like. And I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. And maybe I can answer them in a future video or in the comments below. Or if you like what you hear, please press the subscribe button below. I appreciate it. All right. Take care for now, you future lawyers.